Hello, welcome to Law Master's Lair. I'm your Law Master, here today for another video on Tian Xia in anticipation of the upcoming books. For the Inner Sea region, Paizo has given us plenty of information on the many factions at play, even releasing various books on them. The Dragon Empires too have many organizations, so let's take a look at what we know of them and then chase it by looking at various philosophies we know as well. Let's get the low-hanging fruit out of the way. Three other factions I have already talked about. The Lantern Lodge I talked about in the Goku video, the Way of the Kirin I talked about in the Secret Societies video, and the Golden League in its own video earlier this month. I do not think we need to hear about the Golden League again, but let's do a refresher course for the other two. The Lantern Lodge is an organization which is focused on the preservation of historic knowledge of the continent. They began in Goka and then set up their second residence in Absalom in order to try to influence the Pathfinder Society. Unfortunately, the Pathfinders proved too fickle to give actual exploration of the continent a go a decade ago. But the temporary partnership became enough for the Lantern Lodge to begin spreading to other countries in the region. The Way of the Kirin, in turn, is the opposite of the Golden League. They were once the most well-funded military organization in Longwu, and they supported fair trade and were against the corruption of government. At their height, they spread as far as the Kalish, but with the fall of Longwu and attacks from those who had different values than the Kirin, they are forced underground. To this day, they still work to rebuild the organization, all the while being helpful to those in need, and knowing full well that, to some, their help is not welcome. So the first organization we're talking about for the first time today is the Kusarigama. These are monks who started their practice in the Wall of Heaven, but are spread out across the continent into various dojos. The lead council of the Kusarigama is the Su-Zar-Na, which believes that a massive hidden war will one day fall upon all of Galorian. And so the Kusarigama are ordered to train and go strong for the day. This is all the Kusarigama have in common with each other, as each dojo thrives off different ideals and styles, from controlled and merciful to willing to do everything but show mercy. It also helps that they keep their allegiances hidden under the name of their styles, and among non-Kasari martial artists, all to emerge from the shadows when their hidden war comes about. Similarly loosely formed, we have the Zou. No, not the TV star, pirates. Zou find themselves based in the islands of Minata. Their home a ring-shaped island that can only be entered through a maze of canals. Made up of those dishonored and exiled, they are the boogeymen of the islands. The image of a sundered katana over a blood-red field is itself enough to strike terror in those who know their name. Their leaders are a pirate council, though with a mysterious patron, a ghost ship, who visits the island when the waters are completely still. Now stepping into the darker organizations, we start with the Order of the Black Daimyo. Worshippers of General Susamu, who will be a side tangent in a few weeks' time, the order cares not for honor or the way of the sword, but pure power. They love war. They love glory. And the warlords, sadistic and cruel, dream of doing what they can to show their overwhelming power. But at least they're not racist. Speaking of which, we have the Ruiling, a phrase human supremacists. Not only every monster, but every non-human race they see as needed to be, at minimum, conquered, at worst, destroyed. To them, Nagaji, Kitsune, Tengu, and Samsarans, among other unmentioned creatures, should only be slaves, and they work to spread prejudice and kill any non-human who has great influence and power. As you may expect, the nations home to non-humans see this group as one of the greatest threats on the continent. Finally, we have the Shadowed Lotus. While not as evil as the last two, they deny that Lung Wu truly ended. Now working to build the golden age of empire, or in plain English, create a new empire with themselves as rulers. They are made of disposed nobles, fallen monks, and children of former commanders. Cells within every state of the dragon empires, and spread slander, run on extortion, and generally commit treachery to their home nations, all to chase a corpse of one. So those were the factions, but we also have three philosophies to talk about. So starting in parallel with the Black Daimyo, we have Ichi Meio. This is the code spread by worshippers of Shuzuru, which preaches honor, loyalty, and unbreakable will. A code for all warriors, though her brother's followers care not for the honor part. The core of the philosophy is constant improvement regardless of if they are samurai or ronin, and regardless of with a sword or with other means like gardening or meditation. There are three precepts followed by all practitioners. Unity of body and soul, to put honor above everything else, and that sacrifice needs to be done to achieve any goal. Another one we have touched on in the past, we have Tamashigo. This is the belief that all things have a soul, like kami, but not everyone can take a physical form. Wherever the spirits originally came from, the philosophy says they must be respected and treated well, otherwise misfortune will fall upon the offending party. And as rewards, they work to grant those who are worthy fortune, or warn them of oncoming tragedies like floods or droughts, so they may prepare. Shrines can be found both in people's homes as well as places with enough influence from the spirits. Finally, we have Po Lung, the main philosophy of Lung Wu, and today Po Li. Po Lung is the belief in the inherent divinity of the empire, the emperor, and that they are the earthly representation of the head of the heavenly court. The philosophy paints a wheel, the emperor at the center, who is served by his attendants, who he then rules over directly. Then to fan out to the nobles and tradesmen and eventually the peasants, the bureaucracy helping to make the entire wheel turn smoothly around the emperor. This creates a meritocracy system where those who are best in a certain place are elevated to that place, and those who lack the virtues, even the emperor himself, will be eventually replaced by one who is more fitting of the station. Even today, when Po Li worships an empty throne, the examinations to see who is best fit for each courtly position still runs strong. And that is it for today, except one. Saying Posty was recently given plenty of new information, so I am going to sit on it for its own video. Cannot wait to see which of these organizations are still around. I especially am interested in the Kasaragama, especially with the War of the Immortals coming pretty soon. But next week, we have one of the biggest videos of this special event. See you then.